Welcome to After the Pool, the video series where I share my thoughts and opinions on the comic books that I read for the current comic book week. Now, again, this is the shortened summertime edition, so I'm going to only give you about 6 or 7 books here. But if you love daily comic book content and if you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, you guys came to the right place. Also, if you want to become a member of my YouTube channel, just go ahead and hit the join button on my home screen, and then you guys can become a member as low as 99 cents. It does give you early access to videos. It gives you stickers on your comments and badges on letting you know how long you've been a member for. And when I do live streams, you can also get super stickers and all that other kinds of stuff too. So yeah, it's much appreciated if you do it. And if you don't, it's just as appreciated too. I appreciate you guys watching. So with that being said, let's get started with this week's episode. Blood Hunt issue 4. So we're kicking it off with the Marvel event. This is a 28-page comic for the price of $5. Jed MacKay is the writer. Pepe Larraz does the artwork. His art has been nothing but phenomenal in here. The characters look absolutely great, and if you read the Red Band edition, you get to see all the glory of the bloodiness and all the extra action and stuff like that. And in this comic, we learn who is taking over Blade's body. And this is the character by the name of, I think it's Varney, if you say his name correctly. And supposedly he is this first vampire, right? That ever existed. And obviously he wants to rule the world with all his other vampires and whatnot. We get to see Doom trying to be involved in the comic book. And there is this particular spell that the good guys are trying to create, which I thought was pretty cool, right? We also get to see Blade kind of ascend to that Varney character, right? Like he's like this all-out darkness and stuff like that. So this book is pretty good, but for some reason, this just does not take it to the next level for me. I noticed this type of writing in Jed MacKay's Avengers run. He highlights certain characters on a page. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of action, but the overall grand story in the main event just doesn't do it for me. There's just something lacking, and I feel like the more intense storylines are embedded into some of the actual tie-ins, right? So like if you want to read a good tie-in book, I think like Moon Knight is pretty good. I'm not going to say like all of them are great, but I think if you really want to add to this story, some of these tie-ins are where they're at. I just feel like there's something missing out of this main story. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments below, guys, and what it is for you. And if you like it, dude, that's totally awesome. Like I said, this is just my opinion, my thoughts, and that's what's so great about this hobby. So if I had to grade this one, I'm going to grade this one a C+. It's better than average. It's got good artwork. Story's fun to read. It's summer. It's action, popcorn flick. But I'm looking for something just a little bit more out of this. Are you ready for it? Jackpot and Black Cat. This is issue 4. 28 pages, $4. The writer here is Celeste Brofman. The art is done by Emilio Liazzo. Listen, when it comes to the artwork, it's okay. The characters look pretty cool. There's some cool fighting in it. I think they do a pretty good job at trying to make Black Cat sexy in here because she is that very seductive-like character. Some of the other characters are all right. You got Owl in here who has like his $10 million that stole from him and he's trying to recover it, right? The colors are bright and vibrant. So I'm going to give it that. Like the artwork is pretty solid here, but the overall story is just like last time. It's just a complete train wreck. What this story actually accomplishes is nothing, and that's the problem with it. You get introduced to this F-list villain by the name of Bandwidth, who's just going to be a nobody at the end of the day. Is anybody going to write about her? Why was she created, right? There's nothing here, right? the redeeming factor of this comic book could have been if Paul got shot. Maybe like he would have been the casualty. Maybe he would have died. Maybe there would have been some kind of stakes. And even if you didn't care about Paul, at least Mary Jane cared about Paul, and it would have added an emotional element to the comic. But without him dying, right, or some kind of, I don't know, some kind of situation that could have provided some stakes, this comic book could have been better. But it's just a bunch of worthless fighting and trying to figure out how to get the $10 million back. And you're in this triangle between Black Cat, Mary Jane, the Owl, and Bandwidth on trying to get this money. And it's just dumb. I feel like the power set of Jackpot is not understood on how it actually works. And it just comes across as her a lame superhero. And so what Jed MacKay did with Jackpot or Mary Jane was actually halfway decent. And if he stayed on the character, maybe he could have brought her up to another level. But here, she was just brought down a level. And that's unfortunate here. So this book is definitely not worth it. I'm happy that it's over. But at the end of the day, like last time, I'm going to give it an F+. It's very unfortunate that some of my two favorite characters were written in a way that I just didn't like, right? And hopefully the next series that they are in will be better. And somehow, some way, Paul will be lost or forgotten or shot or killed. Whatever. He just needs to go. Void Rivals, this is issue 10, 32 pages for the price of $4. If you guys have been sleeping on this comic book, shame on you, because you need to be reading it. This issue was absolutely fantastic, and now more than ever, it connects to the Energon universe. This book is written by Robert Kirkman, and the art is done by Andre Bresson, maybe? I don't know. The artwork's good in there. We get the continuation of the Autobot Springer in here, trying to help our main characters in the comic book. Now, what happens in this comic is Springer definitely reveals a lot of things that are happening with our main characters of Derek and Solilla. Okay, and we find out that they are part of a Cybertronian race, right? Their jewels on their forehead mean a particular something, right? I'm not going to give that away if you haven't read the comic yet, but it's very important. And their planet and their rings actually mean something in particular as well. We also get to see the relationship between, I think, is it Zalek and Doolin? I think those are the characters who have this secret relationship with each other, which are like the leaders of their races. So you wind up getting a lot in this comic book, and that's what happens with Robert Kirkman comics. Like, there tends to be, you know, the story tends to be dragged out a little bit, right? And then you all of a sudden get a big information dump or something big that happens, and here you just learn a lot more about how our characters are related to the Energon universe. Nice pacing, nice mix of action and things like that. This is a phenomenal comic book. I'm gonna give this one an A+. That's right, guys. This was probably one of my favorite Void Rival issues to date, just because of the revelations that it gives us. So if you have not read this comic yet, I definitely say get on board, read this issue, and you're going to find out a lot more about our cast of characters. Green Arrow, this is issue 13. Guys, this is 32 pages for the price of $4. We have Joshua Williamson and writes it, and the art is done by Amanake. Not even going to attempt it. The artwork's good, man. I like it. I love the way the Arrow family looks in this book. I love the facial expressions in here. This is pretty awesome, as you know, as Canary is lying in bed and then she, like, you know, sees that Ollie is not there, and that facial expression's like, where's Ollie? You know? Pretty nice looking book overall. Here's some more shots with Roy in there. So again, nice, bright, vibrant comic book. Just a pleasure to look at, and it's nice to see like the Arrow family all together, right? And even if it was for just a few moments of happiness, that's what you got out of this comic. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this particular issue was because it is tied into Absolute Power, and Ollie is actually going to be working for Amanda Waller, and its task was to bring, obviously, the confessional mask. That was what was tasked upon him a few issues back. He brings that to Amanda Waller, and he's agreed to actually protect or safeguard their armory and their weapons and make sure that they get all that stuff, of course, so the rest of the family can stay safe. But right away, you can't trust Amanda Waller. Peacekeeper is obviously acquiring him to do another mission that has to affect his family members, right? And I thought that was pretty cool. But it's just, as a reader, emotionally, you hate that Ollie has done this, that he has betrayed his family and has actually teamed up with Amanda Waller. I get where it comes from, why he's doing it, but you just hate seeing it at the same time, right? But nevertheless, this was an absolutely phenomenal comic book, and I think, again, this ties in beautifully to Absolute Power, and it's a great Kickstarter on what is to come for DC Comics. So I'm going to give this one a solid A as well. I'm really excited about this series. The only sad thing is I know Joshua Williamson's leaving this book as well once all Absolute Power is done. So these two books we're going to be talking together. We have Superman issue 15, and then we have Action Comics issue 1056. As this concludes the House of Brainiac story, this is part 5 and part 6. Stories written by Joshua Williamson. Once again, art Rafa Sandoval. Now, the artwork in these two comics are absolutely phenomenal. I love the way the characters look. I love like the purple and greens with like Brainiac. There's just like some horrific scene here with, you know, Lena Luthor in here as she's taking on all those memories. This good 2-page spreads in here. Just looks phenomenal. Here is in part 6 in the Superman story. Like, look at that. This is a comic book where you're just like, you pick it up, you open it up, and you're just like, man, this looks so phenomenal. And you can spend a minute or two just looking at the artwork. And that's your goal when it comes to the artwork in comic books, right? It just, everything is just all out in your face. It's balls to the walls action, the climactic conclusion to this story arc, and it delivered, man. It definitely delivered. You got to see, you know, what happened to the Brainiac Queen, the Brainiac Queen, like how she was created through this whole thing, and you get to see what happens to her. And if you read the Absolute Power issue 1 issue or whatever it was, the prelude to the story, you got to see where the Brainiac Queen winds up and how Amanda Waller gets a hold of her and what she does with her. So that was pretty cool in here as well. You get to see the revelation, or you get to see what happens to Brainiac at the end of this comic book, and you're kind of left with your head scratching going, what happens with Brainiac going on in the future? So it was just a nice wrap up to everything, and overall, this event was the best, I want to say, self-contained superhero event that I've read in quite some time. And I'm going to give this one an A+. Overall, it delivered each and every issue. I want to know if you guys agree with me or disagree with me on this. And does this leave the bar super high when it comes to Superman? Because same thing, Joshua Williamson is done writing his story with this character, and now we get Rainbow Royale. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Rook Exodus issue 3. A lot of the webheads out there wanted me to talk about this comic book this week, and yes, there is no doubt in my mind, or there was no hesitation that I was going to talk about this comic book. This book is phenomenal. 32 pages for the price of $4. Written by Jeff Johns. Artwork is done by Jason Fabok. The artwork in this comic is phenomenal. Whether it's just wildlife or the cast of characters that's in this book, it delivers on each and every page. You can see like the heart and soul that goes into this comic book. Look at all the details that goes into this tank and those characters. It is is phenomenal. Now, in this particular issue, we get introduced to another character who's like 118 years old. He's in control of this like dam-like area, right? And it has this piece of technology in here that is used to communicate to all of the other wardens out there, and maybe others that they didn't even know that existed. So our main bad guy by the name of Ursa, who has killed some of the other wardens and has gotten all of their helmets, he is looking for this technology and is going to this dam. So time is of the essence for our characters to reach out for their help, right? So the Ursa character is just very menacing. You get to see all the people that he's taken out, and he has a like certain amount of helmets, and he has people that work for him, and when he feels that they're worthy of wearing a helmet, he gives it to them, right? Very interesting. So they have this communication tower again that they're looking for other people to assist them in bringing back this particular world. And in this book, you wind up getting introduced to all of the other characters. Like you get introduced to like the fox character, and you get introduced to a spider character, which I thought was awesome. And then there's a ram guy, right? So that is really neat in itself. And you just see everybody. There's like a goat, there's a lotus, and then you just keep seeing like a 9-panel grid of just all the other casts of wardens that are particularly out there that may have not existed or knew that there's civilization that's still alive. And then we see Rook, who is in a dire moment himself, going, he's coming, Ursa's coming, and then you get to see his cast of characters come. Holy shit. This book is A++, supreme, the best book of the year for me. This is phenomenal. Now, why is this my favorite book? I'm going to tell you, okay? What this does is this is a book that creates a whole new world, a whole new cast of characters. It's got fantastic artwork, rich in detail, where you want to look at every single panel. Now you'll say, well, I thought Transformers was your favorite comic. It's my favorite comic, but it's my favorite comic that has a property, right? This is all around original idea, okay? And this gives me the feel of like when something is brand new and you got it at the toy store, at Toys R Us or something, and you're taking it out of the box and you're playing with it for the first time. I feel like all these characters could be toys, and you want to go to that toy store and you want to pick up those toys and play with those guys, and you want to see all the next cast of characters that's coming out, the next wave of characters, kind of like how G.I. Joe was, how Transformers was back in that day. That's what this book does for me, right? It's so awesome, and you cannot wait until the next issue comes out. It's that exciting. It is so good. I absolutely love this comic book. So that's why this is my favorite comic book, because it creates that excitement level that I had when I was a kid, when I first started reading comic books, when I first started getting toys and I wanted to see that next wave of toys. Like, that is a comic book that is worthy of just everything, right? And that is how I wish every single comic is. And unfortunately, it's not that way. But if you have not read Rook Exodus, it's only 2 issues in. Please pick it up. I think you're going to love it. So there you have it, webheads. There is this week's episode of After the Poll. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I want to know some of your favorite comic books of the week. Let me know in those comments below. And of course, guys, if you love my content, there's always more content right here for you to click on. In fact, these are some of the comics that I will be dropping in the near future. And as always, guys, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.